AITA for refusing to let my sister's fiancé move in with us before the wedding. Even though it's causing a huge family rift, my 28F sister, Emma, 26F, has been with her fiancé, Mark, 29M, for about 2 years now. We're very close, so when they got engaged last year, it was a big deal for all of us. Our family has always been tight-knit, but things have started to unravel recently over what I consider a very reasonable boundary. And now I'm being told I'm the villain for it. Here's the backstory. I live in a 3-bedroom house that I bought about a year ago. I live with my boyfriend, Jason, 30M, and we share the space comfortably. When Emma got engaged, she and Mark were planning to get married in about a year, which is soon but gave them enough time to get things in order. Mark's been struggling financially due to some job losses and debt, and Emma asked if they could move in with me and Jason temporarily until they get back on their feet after the wedding. At first, I was hesitant. My place is not huge, and while I'm happy to help, living with another couple under one roof can get complicated. I told Emma and Mark I needed to think about it because Jason and I value our space and routine, and Mark isn't exactly the easiest person to get along with. He's polite enough, but tends to be loud, messy, and very opinionated. Emma assured me it would only be temporary, maybe a few months max. I discussed it with Jason, and he was strongly against it. He values his privacy and works from home, so having extra people around would disrupt his workflow. I agreed with him. We sat down with Emma and Mark and explained that while we love them and want to support them, we don't think our house is the right place for them to move into before the wedding. Emma seemed hurt, but said she understood. Things were fine for a few weeks, but then Emma started hinting that she thought we were being selfish. She said that since we're close, it was the natural thing to do, and that we were not family if we didn't help out. She even mentioned that Mark could help with rent or chores, but Jason and I felt that wasn't the point. We want to help, but not at the cost of our home environment and mental health. The breaking point was when Emma and Mark showed up at our door one evening with their belongings, saying they'd already packed and figured they'd just stay for a couple of weeks. I was shocked and immediately told them no. Mark tried to argue that this was the right thing to do and that I was being unreasonable. Emma got upset and said I was punishing them for things out of their control. Jason stepped in and firmly said this wasn't going to happen. Emma left in tears, calling me selfish and cold. Our parents got involved and told me I was being harsh, that families should be willing to make sacrifices for each other. I explained our position, but they insisted that if it was their daughter and future son-in-law, they'd make it work. Since then, family gatherings have been tense. Emma and Mark barely speak to me, and our parents have subtly taken their side. I'm being painted as the mean sister who won't help when someone's down. I understand that family is important and that Emma and Mark need support, but I also believe boundaries are necessary to protect our own well-being. Am I the asshole for refusing to let them move in before the wedding, even if it means risking a family rift? Or is everyone else being unreasonable expecting us to open our home when we clearly can't accommodate them? If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to the channel. It helps the content grow and motivates me to create even more great videos. Turn on notifications so you don't miss any new uploads. By the way, I'm curious, when do you usually watch my videos? While working, studying, or just relaxing at home? Let me know in the comments. I'd love to hear from you. Thank you for your support. AITA for telling my sister she can't bring her kids to my wedding after she promised she wouldn't. So, this is a long story, but bear with me because it's been a massive source of stress and I really need an outside perspective on whether I'm the asshole here. I'm a 29F and I'm getting married to my fiancé, 31M, next summer. We've been planning this wedding for over a year now, and it's pretty much the biggest event in my life so far. I've always dreamed of a mostly adult, relaxed wedding. Think cocktails, good food, dancing, and hanging out with close friends and family. My fiancé and I agreed early on that this wouldn't be a kid-friendly event because the venue is fancy, the schedule tight, and honestly, kids running around wouldn't fit the vibe we want. Plus, the venue charges per head, and kids count as full-price guests. My sister, 26F, has 3 kids under 7, 6, 4, and 1. She's always been very close to me, and I love her and her kids dearly. However, the reality is It's impossible for me to imagine her kids at the wedding and everything going smoothly. Her youngest is still a baby, and the older two have a lot of energy. I was upfront with her early on about our adults-only rule, and she understood it initially. She even agreed that she'd arrange childcare for her kids on the day, so she could enjoy the event and celebrate with us without the kids being there. Fast forward to about 2 months ago, when my sister drops a bombshell. She tells me her nanny is no longer available that day, and she's asking if she can bring her kids after all. I told her honestly that it wasn't possible. I explained the reasons, the venue's restrictions, the vibe we're going for, the cost, and the fact that many guests also have kids but have managed to find childcare. She got upset, saying that I was being unfair because the kids are family and weddings are family events, so she should be allowed to bring them. I reiterated that I love her and her kids, but this is a very specific type of event we are planning. I even offered to help her find a local babysitter or to contribute toward childcare costs because I know it's not cheap, but she refused, saying she could handle it herself and didn't want to ask for money. She accused me of being selfish and not putting family first. Then, the kicker happened last weekend. I was at a family dinner with both sides of the family, and my sister cornered me to say she had a surprise for me about the wedding. She said she'd already asked her parents to watch the kids during the ceremony but planned to bring the kids to the reception anyway. Because it's just a reception, it won't be a big deal. She said she hoped I wouldn't be mad because she just wants her kids to be part of this special day. I told her again that this was not acceptable, that if she showed up with the kids unannounced, it would cause a scene and that the venue would likely ask them to leave. I reminded her of our earlier conversations and her agreement to childcare, but she just doubled down, saying I was being rigid and that my wedding is too exclusive for family. Now, I'm honestly torn. On one hand, I want to be accommodating, especially for my sister, who's been a huge part of my life. But on the other hand, I feel like I have every right to enforce the rules of the event I'm paying for and planning. My fiancé is fully behind me on this, and he agrees that having kids at the reception would be chaotic and stressful. I've talked to my parents, who are mostly neutral, but are starting to lean towards thinking I'm overreacting and should just let the kids come. My friends, on the other hand, say I'm justified because this is my day and I should set boundaries. So, Reddit, AITA for telling my sister she can't bring her kids to my wedding reception after she promised not to? Is it unreasonable to expect her to arrange childcare? Or should I just suck it up and let her bring the kids? I feel like this issue is really straining our relationship, and I don't want to lose my sister over this, but I also want my wedding day to be what we envisioned. Thanks for reading. AITA for refusing to invite my sister's fiancé to my wedding after she publicly humiliated me. I'm 29F, engaged to my fiancé, 32M, and we're currently planning our wedding for next summer. My sister, 27F, has been part of the planning process since the beginning because she's my maid of honor and we're quite close, or at least I thought so. Recently, though, things have gotten very complicated, and I need to figure out if I'm overreacting or if I'm justified in my decisions. Some background first. My sister and I have always had a competitive relationship. Growing up, she was the golden child, perfect grades, perfect manners, perfect social life. I was more reserved, a bit of a bookworm, and never really fit into the mold she thrived in. Our parents always favor her accomplishments, and honestly, I often felt invisible. When I started dating my fiancé 2 years ago, I was ecstatic because I finally felt like I had someone who truly understood me. My sister met her fiancé, 28M, about a year ago. He's a nice enough guy, but very controlling and arrogant. I noticed early on that he didn't really treat her well, making passive-aggressive comments, talking down to her in front of others, and generally undermining her confidence. I tried to support her, but she insisted everything was fine and that he just had a tough personality. Fast forward to when my fiancé and I got engaged. Naturally, I told my sister first because I wanted to share the moment with someone close to me. We started planning together, and at first, it was great. But then my sister began making passive-aggressive comments about everything. The venue, the guest list, even the color scheme. She kept comparing my choices to her upcoming wedding, which is 6 months after mine, implying that mine was inferior or less perfect. The breaking point came about a month ago at a family dinner. I had asked my sister if her fiancé could come to a small pre-wedding gathering we were hosting. She said yes, but then dropped a bombshell. She said he would be bringing a +1 of his own, her cousin, and that this was non-negotiable. I was confused and asked why she would want to bring someone who wasn't invited or even discussed. She snapped at me in front of everyone, accusing me of being selfish and trying to control her life and wedding plans. She said I was deliberately excluding her fiancé because I didn't like him and that I was being immature. I tried to stay calm, but I was humiliated, especially because our parents didn't step in. They just watched awkwardly. Later that night, I found out from my fiancé that my sister had posted on social media about how I was the worst sister ever for trying to exclude her fiancé from my special day, and that I was jealous and petty. The post blew up, with friends and family commenting and taking sides. I talked to my sister the next day, hoping to clear the air. I told her I didn't feel comfortable inviting her fiancé because of how he treats her and because I don't want him making the wedding about himself or causing drama. She said I was overstepping and that this was my problem, not hers. At this point, I decided I would invite my sister to the wedding, but not her fiancé. I sent her a message explaining my decision and asked her to respect it. She exploded again, calling me a hypocrite and threatening to not attend the wedding if her fiancé wasn't invited. She also said she would expose me if I didn't change my mind. The rest of my family is divided. My parents say I should just invite him to keep the peace. My fiancé supports me completely, and some relatives say I'm being unreasonable. I don't want to cause a scene on my wedding day, but I also don't want to invite someone who has been toxic toward my sister and could potentially ruin what should be a happy event. So, Reddit, AITA for refusing to invite my sister's fiancé to my wedding after she publicly humiliated me and refuses to respect my boundaries?